so long. I should have called at the very least. Would it say unknown on your caller ID? Or maybe my number's still saved. Now I'm standing here hungry and I'm ready for action. So let me tell you I'm ready to jump right back in, back in. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Yeah, I'm ready to go again. Yeah, I'm ready, I want you to know. Yeah, I'm ready to go again. Ready to go again. Took a minute that I figured out, and no one never really has it all figured out. Fall down, get up, and repeat. Don't believe it, let me demonstrate it. I took apart who I was and I rearranged it. I'm better than I was before. Now I'm standing here hungry and I'm ready for
That surf session this morning was incredible. If you're new to the channel, welcome. It is fantastic to have you. My name is Levi. I'm an adventure filmmaker, so I make videos for outdoor companies. And then I also self-produce my own little outdoor documentaries, and I put them on YouTube and share the behind the scenes of that. On my channel, if you want to stick around for some new videos, my big thing is trying to get people excited about storytelling and living better adventures themselves. So on the filmmaking side, I get really passionate about helping people learn and have breakthroughs and just make more things. And then personally, I'm trying to make interesting outdoor stories about people that I think are doing cool stuff. And this van, it's a little messy right now, but this is a complete DIY build that I did with my wife last year. So we've had this van for 5 years now, and we spent 6 months building this out last year. I knew nothing about what I was doing beforehand, and on the project I learned how to weld and learned how to do some pretty DIY woodwork style stuff, and just had an amazing time doing that. So if you want to check out the build series, we documented that whole thing, of course. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Is it always that good out there?
Not really. I mean, it's my backyard, dude. That's why I make it looks good, huh?
I got some shots of you. Come see these.
Let's do it. I'll tell you, we're pretty good driving with that feet.
I got close to hitting the water a couple times.
God.
I got,
Oh, money.
dude.
Yeah. It.
Dude, that's so sick.
Nice.
That turn.
Look, one more.
Nice.
Okay, I want to see that again. That nice sweeping turn looks so glassy on this. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
And then you snuck in another one here, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing those waves out there with me this
My
morning.
pleasure to,
That was a lot of fun.
to meet you, and I wish the best for you and your kids.
Thank you.
You know.
Take care, brother.
Yeah.
That's my main goals covered for California. I feel so fortunate to be able to go on a trip like this, and to think, this was the original dream when I set out to be a freelancer and work for myself. It was so I could come on trips like this to meet people that I want to connect with, and I can't tell you how I have this sense of awareness of how fortunate this whole thing is, and I'm cherishing every moment, because I mean, I don't know how long this is gonna last. I kind of have this stoic view on it where it's special for right now, and I'm gonna soak up every minute. I think for the rest of today, I'm gonna clean up a little bit, try get some of the sand out of the van, and then it's time to start driving north, which means we're now over the midway hump of this road trip, and I'm gonna try start heading up to Utah. Let's do it. I'm not quite sure what to say. That's the scariest thing that's ever happened in my life, driving on the road. That was terrifying.
Tell you where you are going to be located, and then you can just tell me where, and I'll go there.
Okay, that is great. Okay.
Okay. Alrighty.
I'm
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
I'm on the
And dial 5511. Okay.
okay.
511. 511. Okay. We get you
Okay.
a truck near you. Okay.
Okay, I'll call that and then call you back later.
Yes.
Okay.
Please do. Okay.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So I was just driving along the road, and suddenly it felt like I drove into a trench, like the road just fell away, and I was trying to figure out what was going on. So I pulled over. I thought somehow I missed seeing a construction zone, and my wheel was just rolling right past me at like 50 miles an hour, and so I came to almost an immediate stop. Thankfully, I was right next to the shoulder, and the wheel just bolted down the highway, and I got out and tried to go after it, but it's gone. It's just gone. It was crossing lanes of traffic back to the right shoulder. I'm now stuck here on the left shoulder. I had to call 911 because none of the tow services apparently can pick up on the highway because I'm in a danger zone or something. So police and tow truck should be on their way. I'm in that like interesting feeling where all the fight or flight stuff kicks up and adrenaline and all that stuff, and now I'm kind of just, I am frustrated, but at the same time I also feel immense gratitude that nothing worse has happened. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, so it's Future Levi here, and I wanted to take a moment to touch base. I've had a little bit more time to calm down and reflect, and I just wanted to capture at this point in the video how absurd and ridiculous this whole scenario was. I'm just driving along this massive, I think 7-lane highway about an hour after an amazing time surfing. I'm just driving along, and all of a sudden, there's like crazy grinding crunch sound. It kind of felt like a little grenade popped off underneath my rear axle, and then I just like slammed, and I don't know, like it felt like I drove off the road into a ditch or something. And as I'm processing this, I like start pulling off the highway, and I just see my wheel just right past me on the left-hand shoulder, and I was like, oh, that's my wheel. And so I stopped, like I put it in park, but the van had already basically parked itself in about 20 feet. I'm so grateful it wasn't the front wheel. That could have been really bad. Or if I was on a corner, oh man, this all could have gone very bad. But I get out of the van, and I start running after my wheel down the highway, and I look over at cars as they're passing, and everyone's just looking at me like I'm a crazy person, but I see my wheel down the road, and suddenly it just starts to merge into the lanes of traffic. And at this point, I just kind of like tense up, and I'm just waiting for the moment where like an explosion or a car hits it, or like a Michael Bay just eject and flip and multi-car pileup. But then it was just oddly peaceful. The wheel just disappeared into traffic, and I'm standing there, look back at my van. It's like 500 meters that way, and I still can't believe what just happened. My wheel just, boom, and it's gone. So I'm going to unpack what I think happened later, but all the lug nuts were just sheared right off. And in the meantime, since then, I've kind of researched why does this even happen? And I discovered there's a whole genre of videos of wheels falling off vehicles, scenarios like this one, or maybe this one, and also this one. So if you want something hilarious to watch, there's all these compilations. I'll try to link some of them below. They're really just absurdly hilarious, just seeing wheels fly off vehicles. Okay, back to real time.
I've got an injury accident I have to go to.
Okay.
Parking lanes is behind us.
Okay.
So I've got a tow truck coming for you.
Thank you.
It's called Bill and Wags.
Bill and Wags? Okay, thanks. Police just came because I called them because other tow truck companies said they weren't allowed to pick me up here because I'm in a dangerous area. So I called 511, and police came and a tow truck came, but the tow truck that came isn't big enough for my van. So new bigger tow truck is coming. Okay, love you. I'll call later. Here comes my help.
Around the corner, I
thought I'd seen you. Thought you were looking for me. I thought I'd reached you.
That is so painful.
I belong in some other feature. Someone new. Good job, you did it! You love to and I can't get out of this distress inside.
You think that's my wheel?
Yeah.
Kind of looks like it, eh?
Beauty, eh?
Man, people aren't giving you any room.
Nope.
What's their deal?
Stop spinning round. Make your decision now.
Yeah, I didn't think this would be the circumstances that I'd be going to a Le Schwab again.
Round the corner.
I wonder where a good place to drop me is going to be.
How'd you like Krispy Kreme?
Amazing. Did you see how many were left?
Nah, I can't go through your stuff, man.
Do I call you personally if my wheel falls off, Eric?
You can.
Does it come with an Eric guarantee?
I'm about to check all your other wheels, bro.
Perfect.
I'm about to check that for you right now, please.
So it's 3:10, basically 24 hours exactly after my wheel fell off driving down the highway. That happened at 3:30 yesterday, and they've been waiting for some parts to get in and just getting the van back up to snuff. They've replaced the rotor, some hub component, and managed to get out the broken lug nuts that were still in the axle. I'm still processing, and I've been chatting with the team here about what they think happened, and so far they haven't given me a straightforward idea, and I think that might be for liability reasons. I've got a running theory of my own, and maybe you viewers at home have yours as well, but I'm gonna do some driving here before I try to sit down and actually unpack some of this stuff, and maybe some time on the road will get me a little more clarity. We'll see.
I'm losing control. My body, my soul are slowly fading away. But I'm ready now to feel the power of change.
Getting some good long driving in the road, honestly, for me was such a relief to get out of the tire shop and hit the road. Only took a couple of hours of driving to just relax back into normal road trip driving mode, where I was just having a lot of fun. I will say, as a whole, the shop in California was incredible. They treated me so well there. They weren't the people who did the wheel install, yet they treated it as if it was their thing to look after. So I left there not paying anything for any of the work that they fixed, and I was promised that the $550 tow bill would be covered by their claims company, that we just had to file some paperwork. So I just want to thank the California shop for the incredible work they did. They replaced a brake rotor. So that's this big hunk of boy right here. This is the old one. I expected it to almost be more ground down, but this is the disc that they replaced. And that was kind of it for parts of my van, which is shocking to me. And they also replaced the wheel and all the lug nuts all around, just as kind of a general safety precaution. And after doing some various research, the consensus of all of that is basically if a wheel falls off, it's install error, either the lug nuts being too tight or too loose. So too loose, what can happen is if lugs are too loose, the wheel will get some wobble in play and be able to just shear off those heads of the lug nuts over time. Apparently, you would feel some sort of like wobble in the wheel in the seconds or even like minutes right before. You're kind of like, oh, what's that shuddering? And then all of a sudden, boom, there goes your wheel or something like that. So that's loose lug nuts. And then on the flip side of that is being over tightened. So apparently, I did not know this was a thing, but the lugs can get stretched out by being over tightened. And apparently that's something with newer lugs, newer wheel combos. I don't fully understand. All the lugs were new when the new wheels were on and they were the proper lugs for those rims. But apparently they can be over tightened, which stretches at the thread point, and then that creates a weak place where if one of them goes, then it can be kind of like a chain reaction if they were all over tightened. And so this was actually the theory that the manager at the shop that I left in Southern California allegedly put forward, which was this idea that potentially they were over tightened with a combo of there being an error in the casting. I don't think lugs are cast, so I think that might have been just a miss whatever. I don't think lugs get cast. That seems ridiculous to me, but maybe there's a manufacturer defect and if one of them went, maybe it caused some chain reaction. It's all kind of unsettling to me because, I mean, when they were taking the wheels off, I was watching them work on my van. I didn't watch the shop install the first time, but when they were working on my van, this time I was there just like watching what they were doing. And it took them a lot of work. Well, a lot of work's relative. It was more, the lugs were on tight on all the other wheels and they were putting some effort into getting them off with the wrenches and breaker bars. So I am going to align in agreement mostly, I think, with the over tightening theory, mainly because an hour before all the lugs were still there on my wheel, like the last video shot I have in my van. And the most painful part about this for me as a vehicle owner and somebody who's trying to learn more about mechanics and how to look after my van is it's just painfully obvious to me that even when you bring it to professionals to get worked on, wheels fall off. And it's not like I can do a pre-trip check that lets me know that my lugs are too tightened. Like I would literally have to go loosen them all off and then retighten them. And maybe the damage had already been done at that point. So I actually had always been just using a normal bar for tightening my own lugs and breaking them off. But now I've got this torque wrench, which has a setting down here where you can actually see the exact foot-pounds. Because with alloy wheels, I heard between 100 and 140, under 140 pounds, under is where you want kind of your lug nut pound tensioning. And if you go over that, then that's where you're entering territory where damage can be happening and your wheel could fall off. I really wish that I could have found some of the broken off lug heads because I feel like there's a missing story there of some of the broken material because on the disc here, all the lugs were cracked off on the inside edge here. But I, again, wish I was able to find those broken off lugs because I feel like that would have been like the missing piece of the story of seeing where, like if it had sheared off perfectly at the thread, that to me, and there wasn't like wearing on the head face, because I feel like if they had gotten loose, you would have been able to see like some scoring around the head kind of thing. But if it was a fresh just snap off, then that kind of confirms the over tightening idea. Honestly, I have no idea. I'm just super grateful that I didn't like crash into anybody. This is the closest we've ever come to losing the van, which is dramatic, obviously, but it's fascinating the razor edge margin of error here, where if I had been on almost any other type of mountain highway, this could have gone so bad for me. And at the end of the day, I'm pumped that it didn't. I wish that the installation of the wheels as a whole had been a better experience for me because I was out on a limb buying these in the first place. And now I'm even more skeptical about this whole experience. But thanks for following along this very interesting, weird adventure of mine. I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video. That's going to be it for this one. Remember, life's better when you make stuff with your van when the wheels are all on it. Yeah, that's a true story.